What would you do if you weren't afraid? That's what we're going to talk about today. Literally, what would you do if you weren't afraid? AuJ'ye, check me out.
Talking with AuJ'ye. Talking with AuJ'ye.
Your favorite superstar, AuJ'ye. Do you like my shirt? The answer should be yes. Since you like my shirt, go on www.auj'ye.com and buy my merch. Support your girl. So, what would you do if you weren't afraid? That's the question. That's the question on the floor. That's the question for you to ask yourself. I really want you to respond to me in the comments. What would you do if you weren't afraid? I'll start with me. If I wasn't afraid, I would take one of my videos from my podcast and send it to Tamron Hall, who I love, and I want to be her, and say, check me out. Let me be your protege if I wasn't afraid. So I probably should do that, right? Yeah. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Get out your own way. A lot of times we're in our own way. With me, with this podcast, I was in my own way. I've been starting this for years. Walking around telling everybody, I'm a superstar, I'm a superstar, I'm a superstar. And going home and not superstarring. So I had to get out of my own way. I had to start. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Well, the first thing you would do is what you want. If you weren't afraid, you would do what you want to do. You decide what is it that you want. And we can start small. They say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Y'all ever heard that before? It's dope. Well, it's a saying. So what would you do if you weren't afraid? What would be step one if you weren't afraid? What would be step two? Sometimes we dip our toe in the pool and sometimes we just got to jump right up in there. Because guess what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That is true. Or weaker. It doesn't matter. Either way, you'll still be alive. So if you can wake up tomorrow and we can do it again, right? All I'm saying is that it's time for us to challenge our fears. So the answer to the question, which is not rhetorical, is a very literal question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? You can share it with me. Write it down, share it with yourself, tell a friend, tell somebody. The answer to that question is your first step. Once you hit that first step, then everything else will be easier because once you conquer the fear, and fear is like a bully. I told y'all this before. Fear is like a bully. If you stand up to fear, it has no choice but to dissipate. It can't stay. And even with a bully, if anybody's ever had a bully before, you only have to fight a bully but a few times before the bully respects and he goes away. He has to. And that's what fear is, because it can only have us in a chokehold if we let us. So the question, what would you do if you weren't afraid? The response or the answer is your first step to doing it. This has been your favorite superstar, AuJ'ye. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and remember, if it doesn't feel sexy or sound sexy, AuJ'ye, you see the shoulders, the eyes, then you're saying it wrong. Also, www.auj'ye.com. Buy my stuff. Buy my merch. It's nice. AuJ'ye.
Talking with AuJ'ye. Talking with AuJ'ye.